Hello and welcome to the Cosmic Oracle Show. We're just getting started up here. We'll be going live on Revolution Radio in about 4 minutes. So we have our guest today. It's Janet Kira Lessin. She's a good friend of mine, and I'm really excited for you to have an interview with her because she has a beautiful program, the Aquarian Radio, and she interviews exciting wonderful guest. And so it's fun to have her on the show where I get to actually interview her. So we're going to have a lively night. We're going to be talking experiencers and her counseling experiences, her research, her relationship with the Anunnaki and ancient aliens and ufology and astral travel and remote viewing and shamanic journey and Tantra and spiritual emergence. So how's that for a few topics? So, and she has like so much wisdom on all of them. So I'm really excited to have her on our show this evening. And it helped that she's a good friend of mine. So she's beautiful, she's wise, and I think you'll really like our show this evening. So I have a kind of a new setting here. So it looks different. The whole little view is different for me. So I'm kind of getting used to this new Facebook setup. So I'll give you Janet's website here. Let me find it. Aquarian Radio. Let's see if we can do that right here. Let's see. Let's take that off. Just now I'm going to talk to this is what I do when I produce, right? Let's do this. Here we go, ready. I haven't even started yet. Oh, it's going crazy. All right. So I might not be able to put up her all of those things I wanted. So we're going to go out of there, I think. And Amazon, there we go. So I can give you her page on Amazon, so that would be good. Edit, copy. So let's go here. Edit, paste. So you guys can go look at all of her books that she has. She has an amazing edit, copy. There we go. She has an amazing list of books that she's has in her repertoire. Edit, paste. So let's see if you can see that. Okay, I hope you can see me. I don't see my normal people here, so we'll see what's going on. I'm feeling lonely. Hey, hope everyone's checking in here in a minute. Okay, I'm going to go over to get Janet. First, I'm going to get the Revolution Radio Studio B. There we go. Fantastic. And I'm going to go ahead and get Janet now. Okay, so we're almost to get started, everybody. Hang in there. Janet Lessin. We'll add her to the call. And we're calling Janet now, but we're going to have her muted. Okay. Come on, Janet. Where are you? Okay, we'll have to call her back in a minute then. Are you there? Okay, so then let's go here. Thanks everyone for checking in. Yes, 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 just a moment. We're on in a few minutes. Yes, one moment. Yes, Janet, we can hear you. Just a moment, okay? This is Barbara Jean Lindsey. Welcome to the Cosmic Oracle Show, everyone, and welcome to those on Facebook. Thank you for being here. It's Friday, April 3rd, 2020. I'm your host, and you're listening to Cosmic Oracle Show. Here on Revolution Radio, we're an all volunteer station, meaning that no one gets paid for any of their work here as a producer or as a show host or in the background coordinating everything and turning on the lights and using. What? What? Wow. Okay, so there we go. So, welcome again. I guess we're doing a little multi-dimensional here, Janet. Are you surprised? Yes. So I want to thank you for coming here to the show this night, this wonderful evening here, and I'm coming to you live from the Los Angeles area, and I want to introduce you to Janet before we have her come on the show because she's such an amazing lady, and she deserves an intro because this woman has been in the field and I have such respect for her. So, Janet Kira Lessin is an author. I mean, an author of how many books now, Janet? Together, you and Sasha? Ooh, that sounds. Do you have a working title for that? Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. So Janet is an educator and experiencer herself, and I'd like for her to share some of her experiencer stories with us this evening. She's a contactee, a researcher, a conference presenter, a radio show host herself with Aquarian Radio, and that's aquarianradio.com, correct? And how long have you been doing those shows, Janet? Hmm. Right, since the beginning. So it's a way of cleansing the planet and keeping so many quote unquote humans here on the planet. Hmm. Well, I think it's a test. I think it's a test to see how we react to it. But I think tonight, I'd rather talk about you. I'm going to put the spotlight on you because everyone who tunes in knows a lot about the coronavirus, right? We've been home, we've had some free time, and I think everybody's been listening to shows and and has an opinion of the coronavirus. And so I think I'd like to just take that off the shelf for right now and really let our audience get to know you, because you and your husband, Sasha, are your world. It's not in your bio, but I think world workshop leaders and counselors. And you and your husband, Dr. Sasha Lessin, you facilitate experiencers at conferences, in Skype groups, and in their growth center in Maui, Hawaii. And so you've been working and doing this for so many years. And so I thought I'd start with just a basic experience of you, not going back too long, but one of your experiences. I know you've had so many, but one of the your experiences to share with our listeners of something that you couldn't deny it, you couldn't question it, and it was just in your face experience that just rocked your world and changed your life exponentially.
Experiences since the crib. I've been in contact with these since the beginning. Let's give you a little bit of feedback.
Oh, yeah, and you know what, Janet, we can't hear you very well for some reason. So I don't know what you're
Okay,
using or
let me
what kind
get
of
the mic closer. Can you hear me now?
not really,
I'm sitting
no.
back. Like, okay. Let me see if I can adjust it. I'll go on
Yeah, we're
to
working on it
Skype.
now. They can hear, but we're working on being able to hear you distinctly.
Okay. Let me see what I can do. I'll go to the settings. Let's see what it's saying. Audio and visuals on Skype. Seems to be picking it up. Um, I can try switching to my phone.
No,
Would you like me to do
it's
that?
like if you can make it just a little louder.
Okay, let me play with that.
Okay, we're getting it worked out, everybody.
Can you hear me better
We
now?
and Jen and I talked right before the show just fine. So I don't know what this is.
Okay, let me turn up the sound volume. Maybe that'll. Can you
Okay.
hear me better now?
A little bit. Can you make it
Can you
louder
hear
at
me better?
all? Yeah, I can't make
Can you
it
hear me?
too much louder on my end, otherwise we'll get a reverb.
Can you hear me now?
Kind of.
Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. I do the show on, on Revolution every other day with
Maybe
this
it's
thing,
on
so
my
I
end.
will.
Let me check uh, uh,
Okay.
sound just to make sure. Audio and video settings. Let's see, just to make sure. Thanks everybody. Yeah, I'm up towards the end, so I'm between 6 and 7. So
Okay.
that's just
Yeah, it
really
says the
weird.
speakers are up.
You know what? I
Okay.
think I'm gonna.
I can.
Should I call you back? Should we try that?
Sure. Try to call me right back.
Um,
I'll
or if,
hang up.
or if you wanna, I can call you on your phone.
Yeah, I have to turn it up. Turn my phone on. Let me turn the phone. Let's try that.
Okay, I
Okay.
think try
Give me
that
one
because
second.
they can hear, but it's a little bit distant.
Okay, we'll just fix it. No problem. It's all good. I'm just waiting for it to fire up.
Okay.
1 second. It takes a moment. So you want to just call me on my phone, or
Yeah.
you want me to
Yeah.
on my Skype? Um,
Let's see. Let me.
okay.
Hold on. Let me find out. Just a minute here. Let me put in your number. Thanks, everybody. We're almost done. We'll get it right in here. Let me get
Here,
you
we'll
on.
get. Okay.
Under contact. Yeah, it sounds kind of like you're underwater almost. So let's. So let's see, where is contacts? Here we go. Phone. Contacts. Janet. There we go. Oh, all these old names come up though. Let's see.
The one I want you to do is the 214 number.
Yeah, I don't have. Nope, I don't have it here, and I call you all the time.
Okay.
Let me look. Janet.
Fun.
Yeah, there we go. Janet and Sasha. Wait just a second.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have it here, Janet. Okay, thank you, sweetie. Thank you. Wait. Okay, 214. Let me look. We're almost there. Hang in there. It'll be worth it. Everyone will be really worth it, okay?
You're gonna have to get the phone because we'll get feedback.
3442. Okay, I'm gonna call you right now. Bye.
Okay, hang it up.
Okay, I will. Okay. So let's try this. I think we'll be able to hear a little more succinctly is the plan. So it'll be worth it. 80. Okay, let's try this.
Okay, can you hear me?
Oh my God, that's so much better.
Have no idea what's going on.
Okay, no worries.
But I am in a rock in the middle of the ocean,
so aloha, my dear friend.
Yes.
So mm-hmm.
You were asking about some critical incidents that have changed my life and have been very transformative. And I've had a lot. I basically came in a conscious contactee. I remembered many things from the interlife and decisions to come here. And so, from moment one, it was like integrating into being a human being, trying to relate to these people that were raising me. I probably had past life connection, but it seems like and I love my parents. They're gone. I love my brother. I love my sister. But it just felt like I was a stranger in a strange world, and it wasn't my home planet. And I had to adjust and learn how to be human. Part of it, a result of this, remembering where I came from and not fully integrating into the veil of unconsciousness, is that I could see other extraterrestrial beings and interdimensionals and discarnates. So my childhood life was always about developing some discernment and not saying the wrong thing to the wrong person because they would think I was crazy.
Well, what would be one of the first, like say one of the first entities that you remember seeing, and how old were you?
When I was 18 months old, they came and there was a bunch of them, every kind of species you can imagine. And they came to my crib side. I was small, and my mother didn't have a bed until I was about 3 years old. So I was small, so I slept in the crib. And so they came up to say goodbye to me, one after the other. They just kept rotating, and another one would come in front of me. And at one point, it was like I'd seen dozens of these. Most of the beings are, they have faces like we do with eyes in the front, but they look like all kinds of different animals, and they look like variations on humanoids. Some were reptoid, some were insectoid. So they were all the variations you can imagine of all the animals. Say you were to take an animal here on the earth like a gecko, mm-hmm. and imagine what that would look like as a full 5 to 6 foot being with functioning arms and hands and legs and eyes, right? So then you'd see one that might look like a bear or some variation on bear, one like a cat, one like a dog. But then there were other beings that we had no names for, right? And I'm only about 18 months old. But I had this dichotomy going on in my own self. Part of me pretended to be a young baby and child and toddler, and the other part knew everything, right? I was connected to the cosmos, to source, to awareness, to remembrance of who and what I was before I came in. So I was always trying to figure out what would be safe to say. So I was a very shy child, and my mother was very reactive. So anyway, these beings all came to say goodbye to me. I kind of like to say goodbye because I had been talking, you know, I've been talking too much about too many things that I shouldn't know about as a 18-month-old. So they decided to kind of anchor me down and lock me down and babble my ability to speak. They said goodbye, and then they said, okay, it's time to go be human. And then there was loud, like a bolt or something, a loud crack in time and space as the door shut. And then I just started to cry because of that. That disconnection is very painful. Then my mother came into the room, and I found I couldn't speak like I was speaking to her previously. It was frightening her, this little child speaking at this adult level. So now I was talking baby talk, and I in that way, but I couldn't speak it. It was a really interesting phenomenon. And then after a while, you just kind of have to relax. It's like, okay, I'm here. Relax into the experience of being human. And then the kude comes in. It's called, you start to lose connection and memories. And this is all part of the protection program. And I think this is probably a protection you experience, because there are many of us that are ambassadors that come in here to experience being humans and to report back, and they're always contacting us our entire life. So I've been contacted all my life, and but I had that trauma.
Hey, can I ask you a quick question on just a personal note? One of the beings, do you recall seeing a being that maybe had a pink elephant head?
I think that might be why I like Dumbo.
Because when I went over and had the near-death experience, out of all the beings, that's the one I remember the most that stood out, and I was supposed to remember him, and he was a pink elephant. And so I don't get the chance to ask other experiencers very often of, what the beings look like, and so that's why I'm asking you this question.
Well, yes, I believe that's probably. I mean, I don't have a direct memory. Not you evoked it, but it kind of makes sense in hindsight. A couple things. Mm-hmm. First of all, Ganesh was one of the main gods in India.
Right.
And he was probably a hybrid that was created by the Anunnaki, but he probably could, in addition, exist in the cosmos as one of the forms that we can choose to as an avatar in which to have a lifetime. So it's within, who was it? Oh goodness, the guy that's imprisoned, Joanne Richards, her husband. He saw a giant pink cat, right?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, a giant pink cat. So, and it makes you wonder, like, why am I seeing this? Is this animated? I saw a being here just in the last 2 years in my living room here, in broad daylight. A being that looked like Fred, or more like Barney Rubble, right? Barney Fred.
Sure.
But he was not a cartoon. He was a flesh and blood being, and he just popped into my right beside me while I was typing one day. I was writing up a story. Never saw him before. He startled me. I looked to my left, and I'm looking straight at him. He was like 2 feet away from me, and I spoke to him. I said, "What are you doing here?" And he got really wide-eyed, and he just popped. He just went pop and invisible.
Like you busted him. You busted him, Janet.
I busted him. And he also changed my 3D world. I was talking to Sasha about this yesterday. I said, how did this Barney Rebel guy, but my table had disappeared beside me, right? And somehow coming through that interdimensional portal removed my table for the time he was here. But when he left, my table came back.
That's interesting.
And so I'm looking at that as like I have experiences, and then I'm part mad scientist. Like, I've got to him and all these things. And so I liked how you asked about the elephant. Yeah. As soon as you said the elephant, I went, oh, Dumbo and the pink elephant's on. What was the song? It was a wonderful song.
Oh yeah, from Fantasia, I think.
From Dumbo, Pink Elephant's
on. Oh, it's
on
from Dumbo. Oh right, I remember
I have
Dumbo.
to rewatch Dumbo. I haven't watched it in 100 years.
Yeah. Well, and when you're saying that about Barney Rubble, the first image that I get is maybe a Sasquatch. Did you think about, was there any kind of a correlation or not?
The creature, the being, the humanoid was only about maybe 4 feet tall, 5 feet tall. Okay. Not tall at all.
Okay. Did you get a feeling where he was from, or was it an elemental, or was he from a different cosmos, or?
Well, it was such a short exchange, and I wish we'd come back, because then, he just caught me off guard, because it was just like, sitting here talking to you, and I'd never had that happen, and then he just came, and then it was like, whoa.
That's so cool.
No time for questions. He was frightened of me. He popped out. But you mentioned elementals. I'm here in Maui,
right?
And I had a friend one time that tried to kill herself. It was a long story, and she got a bunch of cold medicines, and she went out into the jungle, and she tried to overdose. And as soon as she went into that state where she was opening the doors into other realms, so she laid there for 3 days. She couldn't die. It wasn't enough to kill her. It just made her so she was sick, right?
Yeah.
She's there, now what am I going to do? I'm going to die being exposed in the elements, and nobody could find her. And being the psychic I am, her husband called. I wasn't aware that she was having a dilemma, but as soon as he called me, I said, go look in your yard, go right past your yard somewhere. She's alive. She's still alive, but you got to get her because it's getting dark. And she won't make it till morning. Anyway, so he did. He saved her life. And
wow.
We went to the hospital to see her, and she said, when I was in that state for 3 days, I saw the many hoonies. And my husband and both go, oh, tell us about the many hoonies. She said they were kind of dressed like primitives with face paint, and they looked kind of small and kind of angry. But she said, I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the leader of them. I kept motioning him for water because I couldn't move and I needed water, and he died without water. And he couldn't quite figure out how to give her water, but when it gets dark here, even in Maui, it gets cold, right? She didn't have any blankets or anything. So he came up and he put his back against her back and raised his energy or the heat. She said he kept me warm all night. Otherwise, I would have frozen to death. It was kind of over winter or something. Yeah, hypothermia.
Yeah.
So I don't doubt anything anymore.
Well, and so maybe it was helping you. Like, this will be a part of your book, right? You're writing about experiences, so this is when you can add to your repertoire.
Yes, my Barney Rubble.
Hey, it is what it is. You can't imagine this stuff, right? This is where you just can't, because you wouldn't think of this. You could think of something better, but it's when it comes through, it just comes in the way it is, and you just tell your truth, because that's what happened. That's all you can do, is stand up and tell your truth and tell your story.
That's all you can do. And so I'm just wondering, when we open these portals, I like Chris Cuomo, and he said that he's hallucinating every night because he's got this coronavirus. And I wonder if people out there, if you have hallucinations with this coronavirus, because he said he has the 101, 2, 3, 4, temperature.
Sure.
Nothing he can do but ride it out. So he said the first night his dad came to him. His dad had died in 2015. And then he said the second night he saw his brother, and it was like he saw his higher self brother who was trying to help him. And I have to go re-listen to it anyway. But it makes me wonder, when we have these we get into these altered states of consciousness when we're sick,
right,
high fever,
right,
and are we actually opening the interdimensional doors to what already exists?
right, because the body's so uncomfortable, you kind of pop out of it and kind of run the body from a distance. I know when I have asthma in the past, and I would tell my I remember my boyfriend at the time, I go, look, if I start talking to angels and I can see them and hear them, that's when you call 911 because I can't breathe. It's
Oh, wow.
it's lack of oxygen, And so I agree with you. There's something with that correlation um, with the body, the uncomfortableness of a body, like with the near death experience, you're uncomfortable and you pop out of the body, and when you do that, then it opens up all these other doorways.
And one time I had a gallbladder attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also didn't know I had this most excruciating pain that all I could do was scream. And I guess I was trying to pass one, but it was very painful.
Oh.
So my husband called the ambulance and they took me down. And it was kind of funny when I think back. I'm going, oh, I'm loud, but I've learned that when you have pain, if you sound it out, it doesn't hurt as bad, right?
Correct.
I'm sounding out the pain, and I'm just going, ah. They roll me in, and they say, lady, you have to be quiet. You have to shut up. Oh, that's right. I'm being rude. I'm scaring everybody in the emergency room with quite loud noises. So I did shut up. And then they always do intravenous, and I talked to an ER doctor later. He says, oh, they gave you ketamine. Oh, my goodness. So as soon as it came on, I was in the center on my hospital table, but I was surrounded. I was thinking there were these alcoves all around me, and each alcove was an angel with their wings extended, kind of like down by their sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were each bathed in a different color of the chakras.
Whoa.
And they were healing me.
Mm-hmm.
And this nurse came in and she saw me staring, and I think she probably thought I was dead, because I'm kind of like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Look, there really are angels. I didn't believe in angels. They're right here. They're like 1 degree. And she came and goes, are you okay? And I go, I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. I really enjoyed it. So, so it just makes me wonder, if we were a scientific planet, we would explore what the shamans, evoke, and compare that to what the ETs, evoke, and just compare all these different experiences scientifically and correlate them, and come up with a bigger picture of what existence is really about.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Well, and just to get there, and you're studying all the religions of how do they find source, how do they find a relationship with God, and usually they do something like fasting or something to put them in an alternative state of being.
Right. Well, there's a history of the entheogens being, and wine and beer and hops and all kinds of stuff, grapes for everything, but they were brought to the earth by Nimba. Mm. And Nimba is an Anunnaki, and she also is Mary later in time. But when she was a young girl, she came to the earth, and her name was Nimba at the time. Mm-hmm. And they would change their names through time. She was later Ninharsog. But she brought all these herbs, and her job was to identify the plants that existed here on the earth, and they called it determine their destiny. So she would do the analysis to see, is this edible? Is this a spice? Is this an herb? So she found all these natural, psychedelics and animals sometimes. They'll just want to take an afternoon off and don't go get stoned. They know what to eat that will put them, like cats. They eat catnip, right? So in the animal world, they know what what substances have ergotamine and other things that will put them into an altered state of consciousness. And they'll roll around on the ground and play like a cat does, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck with my gourd. So the other day, with all this is going on, I'm kind of watching the news, deciding what to do with myself. And so when I went to sleep, the whole Bardo opened up. The Bardo, that's like where you go when you die and you don't cross over. And I spent the whole night talking to everybody in the Bardo. And they said, don't count us out just because we're on the other side. We're every bit as involved in humanity and what's going on to the earth as you are. And we're helping to find solutions for the planet. Mm-hmm. So that was quite profound. What's the latest thing that happened to you? I mean, you had experiences in your book, but do you have ongoing things happen?
I do, but it's very subtle usually. I had a glyph put on the top of my car, and the first glyph I saw was at the Sasquatch conference in Chihuahua with Kelly and Kiowani Lapsaritis at the Psychic Sasquatch Spiritual Retreat in Chihuahua, and they'll have another one in September coming. By then we'll be through all of this, and I had never experienced a glyph before. That was in September, and because a glyph is how the Sasquatch can communicate to humanity through an art form. It's a beautiful art form of communication where they'll take bark and strip it, or it's just so beautiful. If you check out Brian Bland on Facebook, he has many glyphs that he shows where they leave him, and that's the way he's really starting to decipher and actually break down the communication like an alphabet in some ways. So he's an expert at it. I'm not an expert at it, but at that conference, I went walking off by myself, and I wasn't expecting. I went off the trail, and there was a glyph, and it's the first time I've ever seen one, and it's the form of an A, and the A means welcome to the clan, welcome, and it was surreal. I'll never forget it. It was just because when they place him, it's like a beautiful fine piece of art just there in the forest out of organic materials, right? And so just I don't know, a couple weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago, I was walking to my car with my dog, and there was a glyph on top of the hood of my car, and it had 3 A's in it, and the wood had been it's from a stick that was not from a tree from the parking lot. It was came from another tree, and no other cars in the whole parking lot had anything on their roof. And usually I don't notice the roof, but for some reason it was real important for me to notice the roof of my car, and they do that. And so when I looked up, there it was, and it was 3 different A's attached to an antenna, and I'm thinking to myself, Barbara, you're like really digging deep here, right? Where you question yourself. And then I let go, and I could really feel the love behind the glyph on the roof of my car. So that's been my latest, and that was a few weeks ago, and that's in a glyph form. And so it's telling me, and I talked about this recently on Dave Scott's show, Spaced Out Radio, and it's where they, I know they want to communicate more, but there's a part of me that's fighting it because it'll change my life so much, and I don't know if I'm ready.
How do you imagine it will change your life so much that you're not ready for it?
Because I would have to be probably more responsible, and I think I'm responsible enough already.
And what would make you have to be more responsible?
I would have to talk about it and incorporate it in my life, and incorporate the whole experience more in my life, and then work and learn everything I could about them because I'm that way, and it would take a lot of my time and might divert me from other things that I'm doing that I think are important as well.
Sure.
So.
Well, I'll let you off the hook. You don't have to do anything.
Right. Right. So that's why I haven't had as much, although Kelly Lapseritis said that I will be getting a contact in April that will rock my world. So I'll keep you posted.
Right.
Right.
Well, it seems only logical that you would get that type of contact. Um, I get contact all the time too. I find myself on other planets. And last night I was going through, every night, it seemed like every night or every other night, I go through some kind of major download interaction. I'm on other worlds. And so it's like, in some way, I'm an overload that I'm supposed to integrate all this into this 3D reality. But maybe it's, we're cracking the cosmic egg, right?
Right.
And it's time for us to crack out of it and go bigger. So I'm wondering what would happen if you would go with it. There's some reason you're drawn to go to Kelly and how do you pronounce her name?
Lapseritis.
Lapseritis, yeah. Go to their events. It's also closer to you than me. But we're all drawn to our niche. Like, I'm really drawn to the Anunnaki. And so because I'm, drawn to that, this guy contacted me, and I had one of my major events on Johnston Atoll, where I ended up interacting in kind of like an eyes wide shut ritual, but it wasn't everybody dressed in the same kind. Everybody was dressed in very unique and beautiful gowns and outfits that reminded me of, Henry VIII or Elizabeth's age. And then these people were super gorgeous. Humans are kind of that compared to them.
Right.
They're like enhanced beauty.
Mm-hmm.
They say they have the glamour.
Yes. Yes.
So they're so pretty that some people couldn't handle it. They would pass out.
Wow.
So anyway,
where was this, Janet? What's the setting of this?
I went to Johnston Atoll, which if you Google it, it's called Johnston Atoll or Johnston Island, and it's 800 miles southwest of Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
And there's an underwater installation there. And I put it out there a few years back. I forget what year. I don't even know what day it is. I'm so lost in time now because we're home. People go, when did it happen? I don't know. It's one big, giant day right now. Anyway, when I was there in the 90s, 97 was my last year there, I was a part of this underground installation. And they, of course, they blank out a lot of your memories, but there's, a lot of this bleed-through stuff. So I had all my bleed-through stuff, and then we did some extra sessions on it, and I recovered a lot more. And once I have to say to people, for me, I'll just say for me, when I do hypnosis, then I like open these channels, and then more and more information keeps coming in. So once you open it, I understand what you're saying. If I open the glyph thing, what is going to come?
Right, right.
That's just the door. You open the door, and the rest of it goes through. And so I opened that door, and now information. This is that was 20 plus years ago, 23 years ago. And this guy just writes me. He says all these things happen. Now I had recovered that I worked there part-time. I knew there was a lot more than what I was remembering, but I didn't push it. I said, well, when I'm supposed to know it, it will come back. And it's just like life. Sometimes I'll be washing the dishes, and all of a sudden I'll be back to something that happened when I was 5. And I go, why am I thinking that thought? I'm washing the dishes, right? Do you ever wonder that?
Yeah, I just tell the mind, shut up. Let's go create something in the future instead.
Yeah, but then something will come. But if it comes, there's probably some relevance to your now, So anyway, so he's been filling in the blanks with all this stuff. But so at first I thought it was just Anunnaki there. And it's like, no, there were all different beings. I don't know if you've ever interviewed Gloria Hawker.
I have not. I'll check her out.
Get her on.
Okay.
She is a wonderful storyteller. She's got a fantastic story. She went to an incident where she was on board ship, And she and about 3 or 4 of the women that had hybrid children, they lived in her neighborhood. So she would see them on the ship, and then she'd go to the grocery store. And there's the other woman that was on the ship. I might screw up her details, but this is what I recall.
Sure,
right?
sure.
And then she said at one point they went out to a tent in the desert, and they had all these different beings up on the stage. And, I forget what she said, the grays, the tall whites, the mantis, the reptilian. Anyway, 4 or 5 or 6 species were up on the podium, on the dais, and several high brass. And in the audience were presidents and, ambassadors and sheiks and czars and, you name it, in the audience. And she said they brought out the 100 people from the ship, which included their hybrid children, and they were kind of paraded in the front of this group, and then they were taken away, and the meeting continued. And she had seen a number of presidents or high-ranking people. I don't know all the details. You'll have her on.
Yeah, I will. Thank you for that.
Power I sent you.
I will, for sure.
And so I started, whenever I write, I give more details, right? So that's part of my resistance to writing, is because they get all these details and then I have to integrate them into my life and make sense of them. But anyway, I realized I have spontaneous memories, and it's like, oh, no, there were all these different people there too. It was a giant cavern that had over 1,000 beings, right?
Wow.
So anyway, this guy's filling in the blanks, and he's saying that, I was working down there. I was part of these rituals. I said, was this satanic? I don't want to be in satanic rituals. I have a lot of people do the my labs. And it's like, no. So he said, no, they weren't negative. So anyway, I've been piecing that together. I like it when I get witnesses. Did you ever get witnesses to your story?
Yeah, the better. Some of my stories for sure. It just makes you feel better that you can have someone that, I was there with you and I collaborate with you. This is my truth, this is your truth. Together, you can't touch that.
Yeah, it was like this feeling of, there's always a part of you. It doesn't matter. For me, I'm like the original Doubting Thomas.
Yeah.
I can have 1,000 things happen to me, right?
Right, and you question it.
And I still question it.
Yes, exactly. I know with my near-death experience, I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm still probably dead. And I'm just having this whole experience, and I'm really just dead,
I think the same thing sometimes. Maybe I died years ago with ABC happened, and this is just going on. But what is dead? What is alive?
Right.
So that's where I go and have conversations with people in other dimensions and the dead people, and then I think I'm crazy. And then someone will comment and say, hey, I was there.
Yeah.
Having experience, and I go, okay.
Right. The truth is the truth all day long, right? It just is. And
right.
You had that experience, and you've been around the sun enough that you know who you are and why you're here, and you have a good relationship with yourself and your body and the world, and you can tell when you tell your story, you can feel the validity to that.
And that's all one level. On some other levels, like, we don't know anything. We know the more we think we know absolutely nothing, because we could be dead.
It's true.
But what is dead? So anyway,
I love this story. Continue. It's fascinating.
So which one do you want me to?
The one in the cave with the beautiful people that you're at 1,000 people and they're having different entities on the stage.
So a couple things came out of this incident that was real for me, but then these are kind of like the collaborations. Mm-hmm. So there were 2 movies made. One was Jupiter Ascending.
I love that movie.
And I've only seen it once. I saw it at Misha Johnson's house. Everybody was asleep, but I was trying to see this before I had to get some sleep before the next day, which is always busy. When you're at Misha's house, your life is full. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to finally see this Jupiter Ascending. And it was kind of mind-boggling. I probably have to watch it again.
Yeah.
But apparently I had done an interview and they took my story. And I didn't believe it because people were saying, they just made a movie of your story. What? Jupiter said what? And so I resisted. So it took me a good year and a half, maybe 2 years before I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go, yeah. The one thing I realized, I was talking to somebody else, they said, I get people that they go, did you see Jupiter Ascending? I go, yeah, that's supposed to be my story. But I started out cleaning. I started out as a maid. Mm-hmm. And I went, oh, that's right. They had this poor girl scrubbing toilets.
Oh, that's interesting, Janet. Did you just freak out when you saw it then?
I couldn't understand why they had this girl scrubbing toilets. And then someone said that it took me, it was a delayed reaction. Oh, they had that girl scrubbing toilets because that's what I did. I started out. Wow. I went to a hotel cleaning, and then I did it with my girlfriends. We were so she was doing in-house cleaning, right? Mm-hmm. And yada, yada, yada. So I went, oh, shit, they even took my scrubbing toilets.
Wow.
They show that it doesn't matter who you are, at any given time, you could end up scrubbing toilets, and you better do a good job. So and then the other one that correlated with my dragon story, I'll get that hint to dragon, is Ender's Game. And so
what's it called again? What's it called?
Ender's Game. Ender's Game.
Ender's Game. I haven't seen that.
Oh my God! It's so good. It's Aisha Butterfly. Strange name. Wonderful kid. He's now a young adult, but he thought he was playing virtual reality games, but he was actually killing the enemy. And they always make the enemy, right? All the stories in life, you always have an enemy, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the bug beings. So they demonized bug beings, and they trained all these young kids that were really good at playing games on the computer, and they thought they were like avatars, right? They ended up being avatars in the ship. They were actually out killing, but they thought they were just in a game about bugs, right?
Right.
So Aisha, at the end of it, was just devastated because he killed millions of them. He went and blew up their planet, right? He just was devastated.
Huh.
And so he ended up finding the mother, the dragon mother, right? The mother of the bug people, because everything has consciousness and everything needs to be respected and everything has life. And so he went by himself, and he went and he apologized, and they forgave each other, and then that was divine love. They just realized that they are one, and I think that's why we're learning what we're learning now.
Right. So if the moment you do engage, you've already lost, right? In any kind of war or combat in some way. So did you have a similar story as the Ender's Game for yourself?
I engaged with the dragon, and the dragon is us. We can demonize it and call it the dragon and have George the Dragon Killer and call him a reptilian, and we can demonize any species and make it something that we are afraid of and kill. But in the end, there's intelligence, and there's a way to come into a symbiotic relationship and the realization that we are one with everything in the cosmos. Mm-hmm. So speaking now, we're probably one with this virus, because people have said that the virus seems to have intelligence.
That's interesting. Well, and can you lift your vibration to? That's what we were working on. I did that global meditation, and it was to lift the vibration equal to and greater than that of the coronavirus, and we can do that.
Well, perhaps the coronavirus has come at our unconscious, superconscious invitation, because we were demonizing each other, and we need something which will unite us. And it's kind of like what Reagan said: what if the aliens came?
Right.
And even at our conference that you were in October of 2018, they said that we will have they call it a false flag event, where the extraterrestrials will come down, and we will all unite against it. But maybe this is it, and maybe this is the scenario that the enemy is this virus, and that we need to unite, because we literally have people that catch the virus they start having symptoms and they're dead in 5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
I just talked to a good friend of mine who is a holistic nurse here locally, and her brother went in with the virus, and he went into a comatose state. They thought they were going to lose him, and he was there for, I think she said, for about a week, if I remember exactly, and he came through it and through the other side of it. So um,
was he on a ventilator?
he was on a ventilator, yeah, and in a
That's
coma.
why we need these ventilators. We need their lungs shut down, and we need to have enough ventilators to put everybody on them so they don't perish just because they can't breathe. Because a large percentage are going to come out the other side. But if we have no ventilators, they might just suffocate.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. I know that we're missing them and we don't have enough of them. That's true. And that we shipped a lot of those too before the virus. So to China. So that's an interesting uh, side of it as well. So
But why aren't they making it and shifting them back, right?
yeah, I know.
All
I
our
know.
products to China. Why isn't
Yeah.
See, I think we need to have a unified, universal pandemic organization that is ongoing and no president or whatever can dismantle it, and that we're reporting to each other continually. That's what makes me think it might be,
Yeah.
here we go, conspiracy, one group trying to eliminate the other.
Right.
But perhaps it was a thought, and now it's unleashed, and it's so horrendous because we're realizing that we are one system, and China no longer has customers.
Right. And we are going to be starting up, well, we have our manufacturing plants here in the US for sure. We're starting to get that back online and back on board. So this doesn't happen again. I think a lot of countries are rethinking receiving all these imports when they could possibly make them themselves and give their countries a job at the same time. But
Whose idea was that anyway, to outsource everything?
I think it was to help the third world countries at the time. That's from what I understand. At the time, way back, there was I forget what it's called, but it was to help, like China at that time needed help. Well, it doesn't need help anymore, but it's still getting the benefits from it. But I don't quote me on that, but that's my understanding of it. So, and my friend also, she said, in China they're having, I think, was it China? Okay, I don't know what country, but she did say this, that they were having a big help in surge of people who had the virus being able to heal themselves from it by taking high vitamin C and zinc was huge, made a huge difference. They don't talk about that much in the mainstream news, but what she said is she really recommended that people take high vitamin C and zinc, and that they found that that is really helpful, and that's a natural way to help.
I heard that too.
Good.
I also heard colloidal silver.
Mm-hmm.
Good. But we just don't know because we have the pharmaceutical industry that demonizes the more natural ways, and we just need to get over it. I hope this will we'll get over all this stuff, and we'll just start. What? Here's what it is. This is the bottom line. Mm-hmm. Capitalism kills. So we have one entire.
It's true. That is so true.
And it's killing us. It's killing us.
So we have to change it.
We cannot profitize medicine and healthcare. Take that out of the equation. Mm-hmm. Stop making that anything to profit to anybody, and then you'll start being a level 1 civilization. Right now we're a level 0, Kardashian, what is it called? Kardashian scale of civilizations. We're levels -1 or level 0. We just are not treating our people, the beings that are in our world. We don't treat any of the beings nice, especially humanity. And so, anyway, that's what I work with the ETs.
Okay, well, let's talk about that after the break, when we get back, let's talk about then. We weren't going to talk about the coronavirus, but I think we are. It's on the table, and we're going to talk about maybe some silver linings in all of this as well. So I want to thank you, Janet, for coming on for part one. Everyone stay tuned. We're going to have a break from our station, and we'll go to part two, and we'll look at maybe some silver linings in this and making lemonade out of lemons here, and that's with us all coming together. I want to say hi to our Facebook friends, Angie Vukovic, Seb Talk. Hello, Seb. Have you had Seb on your show, Janet?
No.
You have to have her on. Check her out. You guys meet up. She has an amazing story. She's an amazing healer and psychic herself. You guys.
I get Seb.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Talk. Yeah, I've had her a couple times. She's wonderful.
Okay. Hi, Seb. And then, so we'll just say hello to Marie. Hi, Marie Wright. Thanks for hanging in there. You were here from the beginning, and Allison Thompson, and all of those that are tuning in right now on Facebook. Thanks out. We'll be right back. We're going to take this station break, so stay right where you are. Thanks, Janet.
Thank you. See you soon.
She's an amazing healer and psychic herself. You guys. Okay.
Yeah, I've had her a couple times. She's wonderful.
Okay. Hi, Seth. And then, so we'll just say hello to Marie. Hi, Marie Wright. Thanks for hanging in there. You were here from the beginning, and Allison Thompson, and all of those that are tuning in right now on Facebook. Thanks for checking us out. We'll be right back. We're going to take this station break, so stay right back.
We'll be right back after this message. Wadiya will remain a dictatorship. Why are you dictators? Imagine if America dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests. Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Liberation Nation with Deacon John, where America comes to hear the truth. I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try. Ohio Exopolitics will be on from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Studio A. Mark Steiner will have guests on that will discuss many important topics, including the state of the world today. However, much of the show will be dedicated to the writings of Edward Albert Meyer. Let me read a short passage from one of his writings. Love is a high mass of creation, and through it, everything has logic. All of nature in its indescribable splendor is nothing but the love of creation, which is Please join Exopolitics from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Studio A. It is no secret that the so-called mainstream media is best described as controlled propaganda. Countless news stories are either totally ignored or spun with half-truths, and because of this, essential facts and information are often compromised. Join Dr. Ott every Friday night on Studio B at 10 p.m. Eastern and learn why The Story Behind the Story was nominated for a Peabody Award in its second year of producing unparalleled broadcasting since 1997. That is, if you really care about learning the truth. Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective, Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. time, only when you don't need to expect us. We're already here. Opinions expressed on this station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its or affiliates. You're listening to Radio freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey. Welcome back to the second part of the Cosmic Oracle Show. If you're tuning in right now, I want to welcome you to our show, and we have an amazing guest, a good friend of mine. We have had some long conversations and spent some time together at her amazing conference that she put together. Now it's a few years ago at Stargate to the Cosmos, and we'll welcome her back in just a moment. But before we do, I do want to thank you for giving donations to freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio. Just go to freedomslips.com, find that donations button, and give whatever you can, $1, $5, to keep us on the air, as we are an all-volunteer station. They also have a little store now that you can check out the swag for t-shirts and cups. Also support my work. You can go to barbarajeanlindsey.com. Check out my books and events and my school, and I'm a busy person, so please support my work, and I'd really appreciate that in advance. So welcome back to the show, Janet and Kira Lessin, and talk about someone who's busy. I mean, you're like doing 50,000 things as a normal day.
Well, my husband and I do counseling as well. I'm kind of like, now's the time I should be doing more, right? But I'm just I have a couple clients and I enjoy them, but I guess I could always have more, but I don't want to get too many. I think it's just nice to do a little at a time. Okay. But someday my school I had a school for like 25 years, and we were doing groups here in Maui, and we would have people here for week-long intensives, and I'd love to get back into that again. But somehow things come and go in my life, and I went into a different phase, and I started going out to the conferences. But I used to do that 20 years ago, and I met Sasha. But when we changed what we teach, so in the beginning when I met Sasha, we were teaching Tantra. So we would teach mainly for couples, or we'd gender balance the groups, and we went all over the world. Canada and New York. We would go to New York at least once a year, sometimes twice, Vegas, and went traveling. And then we'd come home, and then all winter long, we would just have all these people coming to Maui wanting to study with us. And so I did that for many, many, many years, and I appreciate everybody I ever met. I've met thousands of people in my lifetime. I've worked with them. I've tarried with them. I've gone into their story, into their religious programming and cultural conditioning programming, and how they want a relationship and how to get the relationships to function right and make them work. Some people are not meant to be in certain relationships, and like they would come to that conclusion, and how to part graciously and to kindly, and always with love and consciousness. And then we went into my other field, which was ufology. We've always done everything. So, I've been writing books about my experiences and about the Anunnaki. And so depending on what was current and the hottest thing and what was meant to be, we would do these different types of teaching. And here we are, locked down. We're all locked down.
So if people want to get a hold of you for a personal consultation, whether that be an experiencer, because I know you work with experiencers as well, but also about Tantra or about relationships, or if they just want to talk, right, and say hello and see if there's something that the chemistry works and you can work with them, where's the best place for them to contact you or Sasha?
I have everything up on
Okay.
aquarianradio.com. But I also have School of Counseling, counseling.org, and I have a lot of the links there. I'm working with the new system called Book Like a Boss.
Okay.
And that allows you to pick a date and time, and then I'll get a notification, and we can set up some time. But I'm doing 2 radio shows a week, and also I'm looking for people to come on the radio. That, especially if you've written a book or you have website or video or some story to tell, I'd love for people. 2 hour. So, and I know Barbara Jean interviews. We like to share people, space it a little bit. Barbara Jean and I are, if we were children together, they would say they share well. They like to share.
We play well together.
We play well. That was a category.
It's really true.
And I don't know why. Some people don't play well together. Some people, Barbara Jean and I are just like, hey, I know you. It's not at the time.
Yeah, I told you and get where you're coming from. So that's always helpful.
It's so nice to find a kindred spirit.
Yes, definitely. And
but we want to go positive path.
Well, I think we can go. Let's talk a little bit about some of the silver linings that you found, and like you were talking about, is bringing people together because of the coronavirus.
Yeah, so I think on some conscious level, there's no victims. That we as a soul group are all on the earth wanted to learn how to get along better with each other. So we introduced let's make this story up. We introduced the virus. All learn how to play nice. And nothing like a life-death story to come out the other side and say, okay. So what? 2020, I knew something major was going to happen. We call it the perturbation. Whenever a closed system becomes so corrupt, an outside intervention, a perturbation, like Reagan kept saying, what if we were invaded by alien? Perturbation would come in and create chaos. We restructure and reorder at a higher level of cooperation and consciousness. So our opportunity, probably the last hurrah for the baby boomers, because the baby boomers came in with this idea that we're going to reinvent the world and make it a better place. And our parents, who had just struggled through World War II, I have a couple of dear friends. My husband was born in 1940, so war broke out when he was 1 year old, and he had some California. His dad hid him in his family, said we're not Jewish, we're Italian, because they were afraid that his father was very highly educated. He was a lawyer, and he said, we only have a 50% chance of war. And I have another friend who was born, literally, the building was blowing up across the street from where she was, and she took her first breath, and she said, when she took her first breath, she saw the family had just been blown to pieces, and they were out of their bodies, and they looked at her as she was being born, and she looked at them as they died, and they had this exchange. So all these stories that have come into our lives, and you too, Barbara, all the stories, they're all part of us. We are all one, and I think it's why I like listening to stories. It's like, it's better than watching a movie, right? It's like the human story, the human condition, live and in person, where you get their intonations and their breath and their energy and their body movements, and it's like, oh, there's nothing like the human story. So I love doing therapy. I love helping people. But I learned from each and every one of them. It's a two-way street. It always is a two-way street, right? So go ahead.
So I'm just thinking while you're talking that I know for me, if I'm just cruising along, I'm just cruising in my life, right? And it will take like an aha moment or an extraterrestrial to pop you, or an NDE, or a health, a health scare, or you lose your job, or you go through divorce, or it seems like these hard lessons are when you really can open up and grow.
Yes, if you can ride it and make it through it, you will come out the other side. And there's a lot of pain on this planet, a lot of pain, and yet you can go to a perception of divine perfection. That was absolutely what needed to happen in order for me to get to this point where I am. And then you learn to love yourself. I love myself exactly who I am, the way I am, because I'm the sum total of all my experiences in this life and every other life and every other simultaneous life. So that's what I've been gathering from all this. But sometimes I just go, damn, that hurts.
Yeah, I think for me, I was busy on the outside. I was taking care of everybody else all the time and leaving myself last. And like I just didn't exist. And so that comes from some very old conditioning. So it was interesting to watch myself then come into my power and into loving myself. And it's such a strong place to be. And it's taken me, almost 6 days to find that. But once you do, it was worth all the challenges.
Oh, so you're a recovering giver.
Yes, and I was an out of control healer, man.
Right, and I think on some level I'm very selfish because I didn't have children. I really applaud the mothers of the world. When you have a child and you choose to raise them, and you don't kill them. So many parents want to kill their kids, but they stifle that instinct to kill them, and they succeed in raising them. And I just always amazed at mothers and how some of them are so exhausted at the end of the road. They've just given and given and given and given. And then they have the next generation. And it's like always it's like a dog that had 20 puppies. And you always have somebody at your teeth, right?
Yeah.
It's like everything. And then I go, oh, that's why I didn't have children.
Yeah, I had to get through some conditions. I was conditioned that children are a burden, and I had to let go of that. But also, I came in. I wanted to be a mother of 12 children and be an astronaut. That's what I wanted to be. And so I'm kind of close. The psychic is, travel on the inner planes, and I've had a healing center, so I have lots of children. My 3 children and my 3 grandchildren, and then I have lots of students. So you have lots of students, Janet. You're like the ma. You're more of a ma than I am, really, because of all of your students. You have thousands of students.
I do, and they didn't come out of me. But it's okay, and I just don't want to be their mother. I'm working on going into partnership with people, and there's a natural tendency for humans to go parent-child to each other, but that's not partnership. That's not balance. To always be adult-child, being parental, being somebody being parental with you. It's like, oh no, you're not my father. You're not my mother. I'm not your. So that's one thing I invite people to be conscious of is when you go out of partnership and you go parental. Because nobody's coming. We don't need fixed or repaired.
Yeah.
And advice, more unsolicited advice is kind of condescending. Like,
right.
Oh, no.
Stop. Yeah. And balance. So let's talk a little bit about Tantra then. I mean, you're if that's something you want to go with this time, we have this
Sure,
time. Whatever
sure.
you want to talk. I was just thrilled to find that you're like you started the whole Tantra movement. When I heard that, I was just blown away. Can you tell our audience about where that came from? Were you and how
Well,
it got started? I think it's tremendous.
this is the Neo Tantra movement, and I personally didn't start it, but I was very instrumental in it.
Hmm.
It was brought to the United States, kind of westernized by Charles Muir, and Margot Anand is a French lady. And so it started over in India. It goes all the way back to Inanna, who's one of the Anunnaki goddesses. It's a tradition that is basically ET. It's about awakening your chakras and getting clear and conscious, and you awaken your kundalini, and then you connect to source. So you don't need an intermediary, you don't need a priest or a guru. You have direct remembrance and contact with eternity, with all there is, never was, never will be. So that's the concept behind it.
Do you need a mate to do that, or can you have that on your own?
You can have practice, you can achieve a lot of these meditation. When you have a partner, even for just part of it, it accelerates the process, because it's kind of like having your mirror, and then you learn how to interact with the mirror. You could do some physical activities. You can align your chakras and kind of quicken. But a lot of people have Kundalini awakenings, even priests. Some priests will have a Kundalini awakening and they'll go, "What's that?"
Mm-hmm.
And Kundalini, just for people who don't know, is an energy that resides at the base of your spine. It's kind of like when we come into our 3D physical bodies, we come in and anchor into the form, and we retract this energy. And so it's like the veil of forgetfulness. We don't remember who we are. And this energy is residing in our spine to awaken someday and become conscious. But you don't awaken until it's time, and nobody knows if it's time and what's going to be the catalyst of your awakening.
That's
So,
interesting. And is that the symbol of the snake? It's when it's going up your spine, is that a proper symbol for that, or is that?
yeah, the snake is used in medical healing. It's the double helix. It's the caduceus. It's the kundalini energy.
Mm-hmm.
And when it awakens, it does feel like it's snaking up through your body.
Mm-hmm.
And
And you let go. You got to let go, or you'll explode, right?
well, some people have blocks and they can't seem to let go, and that's when they go
Ah.
to a tantra master. And I don't know who's teaching this or if this is going to go on and has to be reinvented, but it gets rediscovered and reinvented, and some things go back to the India, and some of that is very esoteric, and Westerners just can't get their heads around it. They can't grok it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why, to begin, this is guy Charles Muir and Margot Anand. Anand kind of westernized it, made it more understandable for Americans and people in Western culture. So I came into it in 1997. My husband had Charles Muir living at my house when I arrived here, and they were doing Tantra seminars in Mexico and all over the world. And my husband was the psychotherapist for people, because Charles would give his students these sexual activities to do as couples, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would come back and they'd say, they'd whisper to Charles, I don't want to do these sexual exercises. We're fighting.
Oh.
So then Sasha would go over and do psychotherapy with them and go to the roots of why they were angry at each other and they didn't want to do sexual activities. And then they would resolve their conflicts, and then they would. So it's very complicated. It would take hours to go through the whole thing, but it's all tied in with, we do tantric psychology, and we help people unravel why they don't like each other and where they're projecting and how to reintegrate and become whole and conscious. It's called the imago process, part of it. How to explain that? The imago process is when we're born, we have our parents, and our parents influence our behavior. And there's a lot of wounding, a lot of healing. So when we grow up, we seek partners that are on an unconscious level going to resolve the issues that were unresolved with our parents, right? And so we get locked in these behavioral patterns that are dysfunctional And it's all, so there's a way of unraveling this through psychotherapy, and you start developing healthy bonding patterns with your partners instead of these negative bonding patterns. And you start becoming conscious of when you're going unconscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're not kind and loving and centered. So it's a very complicated procedure, but it can be broken down. And we work with people, and what we've created is a couple books and worksheets because we like to proletarianize education. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to be the single source of all your awakening and your
no guru. You don't want to be a guru, Janet? Come on now.
I can't buy it in 7 billion pieces to help everybody. Yeah, you have to get the information into some way that people can do it themselves. So yes, I realized speaking that I need to go back and do some more.
Well, what's the book? And you wrote a book about it, right?
We have 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
They're on under. Let me pull them up on Amazon. They're available right now. What did we end up calling them? I got to get them.
I Anunnaki Legacy of the Gods. Anunnaki.
You don't have my Tantra books.
Oh, false gods. How to really love a woman.
Does that one? Right now. Oh, that's one. I have 3 Tantra books. How to really love a woman.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Is it all chakra Tantra? I could go to my bookshelf.
And there's Polyamory, Many Loves.
Yeah, I was experimenting with polyamory for a while there because I kept having. Here it is called Teach Tantra, Teacher Manual for Tantra for All Chakras, and Tantra for All Chakras, Volume 1. And there's actually 3 more books that got them into this format yet. The what was it called? The polyamory book. I didn't. That should be up on Amazon too.
Yeah, it's there. It's there. I just let go of it. So
when I met my husband, I had been in all these monogamous relationships and they weren't working. And I actually started polyamory before I met my husband because, I was just like, why is it every time I get involved with a one-on-one relationship, somebody ends up cheating on somebody, right? Mm. So I'm always mad scientist, so I was living it and examining. And in the course of all that, I found that my parents had been swingers. And then I was back after World War II, there were all these swinger groups and secret clubs, and they had been part of a secret swingers club, and so they took that to their grave, that out until after they died.
Wow.
We found a bunch of pictures. But, I'm very open-minded about people and their sexuality, their gender, and however they want to organize it. I just like truth. And so this was always my quest for authenticity, transparency, communicating, coming to agreements. How do you manage agreements? How do you maintain them? So I'm in a very conscious relationship. We tell each other everything. There's no secrets. And right now we're very monogamous. I don't have time for polyamory.
I got too much work to do.
I have too much else on. I did it for a while. It was interesting. We were on 10 on Tantra and polyamory through the going through about 2010 or something. Then they started saying, well, you're too old, you're too old, you're too old. Okay. So we wouldn't get we did all of our Anunnaki books and experiencer books. Yeah. I have a second experiencer book. I didn't finish it yet. I think you were in the first one, right?
Yep, I was, and I gave you an article for the second one too.
So I'm sitting on that. That's why the coronavirus is here, for me to get these books done.
There's just so much time, so much energy, and that you're here. So what are you into? You're working on your book right now, and you've had that amazing experience with the young being or the small being just lately, and so go ahead.
Well, what I'm working on is how extraterrestrials do their civilizations and how they distribute the resources of a planet, which basically belong to everyone. So let's say you have a planet with 10 billion humanoid life species, and then you had the resources of the planet, right? And so that's worth X. So in a conscious civilized civilization, they divide the resources by X, and that's, what you're as a being alive on a planet, that's what you get, right? You add into those resources. We have what's called hoarding. So they've been teaching me the different governance system, and they said that this is hoarding, and hoarding is a mental illness, you know? And so greed is a mental illness. So they look at it like, well, these people are just sick mentally. And I was talking to a fellow who does the Mankind Project here, and he said, well, people are greedy and they hoard because they haven't resolved their childhood issues, their family of origin issues. And so if they would do psychotherapy on their issues, they would get past. Because
what are some of the issues they would have, Janet? What are some of those issues that would cause hoarding?
Well, there's not enough. There's never enough.
So there's never enough of love, or never enough of
whatever is there, never enough. They didn't get enough love from their parents. Howard Stern, let's say we're gonna look at everybody like everybody has their issues, right?
Right.
So he said live on TV, he said, Donald, I've done my family of origin work on my family. And he says, if you would, I know how horrible your dad and mom were, and that, he said, if you would just do your psychotherapy on this. And Howard said, I finally have a relationship with my daughters. He said, if I had never done this, I wouldn't know my daughters. They wouldn't know me. I would die, and my daughters would never know me.
Wow.
And he said, please go do your work on yourself, and then you'll have a fully functioning relationship with your children while you're alive.
Right.
And so that's what the benefit is of doing it's committing to doing your own personal growth and healing, is that you will be an authentic, transparent person that is fully conscious, aware, and alive. And if everybody on the planet did that, we would have a totally healthy planet, because greed is what's keeping us from finding cures for diseases, and greed is what's keeping us from having green energy systems. It's all about, which is our planet is so mentally ill.
So with the corona, then we'll bring it on home this way. It's that we're forced to sit with ourselves and forced to stay with ourselves, and we have a golden opportunity here then to look at ourselves and get a session with you, or read about it, but you have to have the desire to change and grow, and that's not easy sometimes.
Right. And it's hard for someone to say, I am an alcoholic. It's hard for you to own what is your dysfunction. And so, and that's what's happened with me with my ET contact. I got it, right? You get it. When you go outside of the box and you look outside, you can't see the box when you're inside it. You can only see it when you're outside. So,
right.
And I agreed to do it. I said, okay, my desire is to be a fully conscious, highly functioning soul connected all the way to source. What do I need to do? How do I do it? Well, of course, they don't tell you everything, but figure it out. You get led to the people and the information when you're a channel in a vessel, and it's like you find it, and you go, oh, what a miracle, So you put it on the outside person or outside world that they're doing it, but it's like you're on some level have access to your magical, mystical child, and you're on this journey, and everything is coming to you. It's like, Frodo and Bilbo.
Yeah, Angie Volkovic says in the chat, we have to own our own truth.
Yes. So, anyway, I'm so blessed, and I had if I go into my drama, it's like, oh my God, how did you make it?
Well, to watch yourself in the years right? And in those wild loops you would do, and it's lucky you're alive, right?
Well, of course, sometimes I manifest it as disease. See, this
Mm-hmm.
coronavirus, we're ill at ease. Like, how do we own the coronavirus, which seems to be external, but it's we're ill at ease as a whole. This has
Right.
not happened since 1980. This has not happened.
So we're that out of balance.
We are that out of balance, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is a reset.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming into 2020, I go, there's something going to happen this year. But I was excited and happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm here going, yeah, this is a time to be very excited and very happy. And of course, I honor and respect everyone
Mm-hmm.
going through it and are going to transition. And I really invite you to stay and figure out how to stay and get through this. Because I think this is the golden age of Aquarius.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, I think you're right. I think this is a time where we get to really look at ourselves. I mean, you are with yourself first and foremost. So you know, at least where you have that talk to yourself, that self-talk, that is number one. And so that comes through, and it's easier for you to do other things and be more creative if you have a good relationship with yourself. And then starting with that, then you can have a beautiful relationship with your family, your children, and then with your community, and then with your country, and then with the world, and then with the cosmos, and then with the omniverse, so we say. So
Yeah.
but it's foundation. It starts with that foundation, mainly because we are in an avatar body right now, and that is really cool.
I have an awareness of my avatar. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was the second story that came to me. Was this man, and I'm going to have him on the show, but he's preparing his information so he can present it in some way that makes sense. But he died. He was riding his bicycle, and next thing you know, he's out of his body, and there's somebody like his guide saying, well, that's you over there. He said, stupid, you just got hit by a car. And so he said, the next thing, he said, I'm on the moon. I'm on the far side of the moon. Now, we've heard about you can't get out of our incarnation cycle past the moon, right? They keep going back into the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And there were these twin towers on the far side of the moon, and there was a tower full of humanoid bodies on one side and another one full of reptilian bodies. And his guide said, pointed to the one form, and he goes, that's your body. And it was humanoid. And then he goes to the other tower, he goes, that's your body. And it was a reptilian one. And he said he was introduced to his forms in different species, right, that are his avatars. And then he was sent back to the earth.
Well, was he able to try them on? Was he able to put his consciousness in each of the bodies?
Not at that time. And I don't have his full story. I spent one evening talking to him for about an hour, but it was at the end of the day, and my brain starts to shut down. And, oh man, this is fascinating, but you're calling me like right when I'm sleeping. So, but he said, and a month later, he died again because he had been a druggie, right? And he's on the other side. And he goes, boy, you really screwed up your body. We have to fix it for you to go back in. So they were fixing it, and they sent him back again. And then
did he go willingly, Janet? Did he say did he go willingly back?
Yes.
Oh.
He says he's got it. So he's going to come out and tell me everything that he's learned, because he said, I'm here for a purpose, and I'm contacting you for a reason. It's the next level of this stuff. And I'm going, okay, I'm here. Let's take this information to the world. What's really going on between life? I think it's so important to get the life-death connection.
Right.
Now, with so many people transitioning, like, what is really going on? So you had a near-death.
Right.
What did you learn from your near-death experience?
Well, that it becomes a circle, and that it's organic. You know, it's a natural process, and that we can trust it, just like we can trust the changing of the seasons. like from spring to summer to fall to winter, when you step out of this skin dressing, out of this avatar, into the next realm of death, to cross that threshold, you're still there. Your energy, your consciousness still is alive. Um, and for me, I never saw a body on the other side, but and also I was never alone on the other side. And I really feel like we're not alone here either. We're just not, and that's always been helpful to me. That if I really need help, I can call out, and help comes.
So, does anybody come to you to assist you when you're in your form? Do you ever feel like you need assistance, or you kind of?
I'm pretty good now, but I do have that story, and I told this on Dave Scott's show when I was lost out in an apple orchard in the middle of the night, freezing without an asthma medicine, and I thought I was having a little trouble with asthma. I thought I was going to maybe die out there. I got lost, because the fog was so thick, I couldn't see where I was going. And when I asked for help, no one would help me, and I finally just gave up and cried and asked for help. And when I did, a spaceship, the next thing I know, I'm on a spaceship. They're brushing my hair. I'm sitting at a console. I can look out and see all the fog and the trees. And they're brushing my hair, and they're telling me everything's going to be okay. And then the next step is I see myself, my body floating down, my feet hitting the ground where my car is with the door open.
Wow.
And then Art Bell, and I turn on the radio and Art Bell's on. And so,
And when did this happen? Recently?
that wasn't too recent. That was like in 2003, probably around there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, so now if I need it, they'll come. I know they will. I just know, I just have a real grounded sense of knowing with that.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, living in life, because you never know when it's your last day, your last breath,
Right.
and I was thinking, like, what is this all about?
Well, to value this time, right? To value
Yeah.
what, even the senses, and we have so many more than five senses, we have a whole list of senses that we get to really, and that's having this avatar body is so amazing that we get to sense and smell and taste and make love. But I was thinking of my friend I was talking to in London yesterday, that they have warned the people not to, and they had a name for it. Oh, I wish I could remember. They call it something else, but they said to refrain from lovemaking. And my friend just started laughing. She goes, how, I am never going to let a government tell me when I am.
Refrain from love.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one. What did they say would happen if you're a bonded pair? I guess maybe if you go dating, I would hate to be dating right now, but
Right. Well, like my friend in Australia, her daughter has a boyfriend. They hadn't seen each other for a week. And when you're in your teens, early teens, she snuck out of the house and went and saw him and came back, and she knew that she did it because she had a hickey on her neck. And so, yeah. And so, kids are going to be kids, and, they're having a hard time going through this as well. It's not just, it affects every single being that's on the planet. And our animals too. My little dog, she's been like, what the heck? She goes, she's gained a little bit of weight because we haven't been walking as much. And I was walking down the street, and in the middle of the night, like 10 o'clock, it was about midnight. And this guy's walking by, and he screams because he thinks that my dog is a little bear.
Oh no!
And he thinks if there's a bear there, that means the mother bear has to be there too. So it was really funny, and she's gotten a little bit fat. So I gotta not feed her as much, and so.
Well, you can still go out. I think here, if you don't have a real purpose for being out, like this, they showed this guy getting arrested that was just hanging at the beach.
Really?
And they were giving him some kind of, and it's a $5,000 fine and or plus a year in jail or something.
What?
That's here in Maui, yeah.
Oh my God.
So small. If we would be overwhelmed in an afternoon if it goes hundreds. We don't have the facilities here.
Right. No,
We
that's
be
just
overwhelmed. Yeah.
wow. I know that my favorite trail is closed and the beach is closed here. But I saw some people walking last night up there because they had their headlamps on. So
You're allowed to walk. You're allowed to walk your dog.
yeah.
You're just not allowed to congregate. People love to do like a drumming circle. You can't do drumming circle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't go out. I'm ready. I've gained weight. I mean, I just sit here and go, this has been someday. The impulse eating is like,
Well, I've done it online with my kids and my grandkids where we all get together and have a cocktail hour, we call it, and we all get together and talk, and all the grandkids talk on Skype, and that's really fun.
Oh, that's fun, yeah.
So maybe we should do a cosmic cocktail hour, Janet.
I think that'd be great. We're just all going to come in on our Zoom and catch up. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I might do something like that. That could be fun. We could do it private too.
We'll private.
So the thing I was thinking too, and I would like your feedback on this, is during this time that we're quiet and not working and so busy and so stressed, I've seen people turn more into being more creative, and I always felt like the creation process brings you closer to source.
Yeah, I find myself a little bit more peaceful. I think I had overstressed myself and pushed myself, and now I'm kind of more like, I don't have to do that today. Screw it. But I think people are finding peace. Like a couple of celebrities are saying, well, I just ordered a big puzzle, so I just simple a puzzle, or they're reading books they haven't read in a while, or we're just finding ourselves because you're left with yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think there's one thing that's really beneficial about reflection, be with yourself, that you get to go inward and reflect and be, who am I? Figure out who you are. Mm-hmm. So, especially after another month of this. We've only started. We have until the end of, we have, 29 more days.
Right.
Who are you going to be in 29 days, right? Who am I?
Well, hey, I was already going to start my fasting, and I was all ready to go. I thought this is the perfect time to do it, and I really need to detox the body. And being a writer and doing the shows, you're a little bit more sedentary than what you normally are, and
yes.
So I was all ready to go. My daughter-in-law, who's a pastry chef, doesn't know I'm starting this that day, because I left a little something for you, and it's homemade hot cinnamon rolls.
Oh my God!
So
yeah.
So of course I ate them.
Of course they're very on your throat. What are you supposed to do with food? Eat it. That's fun. So I'm wondering how, if we have like, I don't know, 10-15 minutes left. Mm-hmm. If we could future pace and just imagine, how do you think we're going to come out of this? What's going to be different? Because people are saying that this is going to be like BC, before Corona, or Corona, and then it'll be AC after Corona. What do you think AC is going to look like after Corona, the era after Corona?
Well, I can tell you what I hope, maybe, more than I see, which is unusual for me. Usually I would tell you what I see. But I'm hoping that we really look at how much of our freedom we've given away, and that we really take a look at that and really be involved in our communities. Now, I'm in a real small community here, Sierra Madre, and everyone's really taking care of everybody, including our small businesses, all the restaurants, everybody is taking such good care of them that they rotate on Wednesdays when everyone buys at a certain restaurant. And then, and you can buy a $10 meal for someone you don't know anonymously. And it's been a
Wow.
beautiful exchange here. And with the elders, that they take care of the elders. If you want a free meal, you just call this number and someone will deliver you a meal. If you need to have your prescriptions picked up, someone will do that for you. Just call this number. And so I feel like they're respecting the elders a little bit more, which, before I felt like the elders, we were just nobody, like,
Right.
and you'd go and no one would listen to you. And now I find when I'm going in the street, people say hi to me, strangers, and then they'll say, "How you doing?" And then we'll talk, and they want to listen to what you have to say as an elder. I like that. I
That's
find
lovely.
healing in that. So,
Oh, that's wonderful. I had a young tenant, it's probably young, must be my daughter or my granddaughter, and she said, can I get you some things? Can I pick up for you?
yes,
Anytime you need, give me your list and I'll go to the store and get it for you. And I went, wow, that's really nice. And she'll bring it all the way up here. I'm up on the top of a mountain.
yeah. Did you let her
Well,
do it, Janet?
I let her
That's
do it once. I have to be
fantastic.
very detailed about, I wanted milk and I got whole milk. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't get whole milk. I wanted 1%. Yeah, very detailed. She misunderstood something. She brought me a whole big thing of lettuce, but I took the lettuce, I divided up and I gave some to my neighbor. So I guess we have the opportunity to pass it on and to give things and
Yeah.
make everybody feel good for their contributions. So that's good. So I'm hoping that we will find. So looking at systems, a different governance system that meets the needs of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Before, part of me is in agreement, no billionaire class, but
Right.
and something that everybody has the right to have food, shelter, basic. You don't have to have designer clothes, but something on your body to protect you from the weather and. Just some basic and the medical, when you get sick, you shouldn't have to worry about it. So I agree with a lot of the policies that were out there during the debates, and then one of the things that I was appalled with was how people that are in the cabinet can just be fired. So my suggestion was that the cabinet is now, all the cabinet positions are set. We don't get to remove the pandemic cabinet position, and they get elected. There will be elections for cabinet positions, so they can't be fired, right? They'll be nonpartisan. Election cabinet positions separate. I keep seeing my ETs keep saying you need a council that replace the executive branch, which has the president, because the way humanity works is there's too much of a tendency to reinstate the monarchy, which is dictators. Monarchs are dictators, right? So we've got to eliminate the potential because humans are too stupid, and that's why they kept saying when we were taught in school that they were amazed that our democracy had lasted so long. So when I was, I think it was in 1976, right? There was a 200-year anniversary of our nation, right? And they were going, oh, it's amazing. We made it to 200 years. Most democracies fall apart. So as a systems analyst and looking at it from the ET perspective, it's like, here's the correction things you can put into place in your governance system. But, they don't operate like we do. They don't have money. So they're just giving us some ideas for how to transition. But they feel each other. And so they feel the parent other as an extension of themselves. And they would never dream of letting that person starve.
Right.
They would never dream of them being stuck out in the winter and not having shelter, And so something has to happen for humanity to get past the point where they're told they have to take care of the neighbor, but that they just want to because it's like their hearts are open and they have compassion. So when I watch these things where people are dying, and I just the other day I just went in the other room and I sobbed for half an hour. And I feel people, right? I feel pain they're going through. So I don't understand. I don't think I'm human. I think I'm ET. I don't understand when people.
Well, you know you are. You know you are.
Yeah.
I know I am. Okay, and there's a lot of our listeners that are. So they do get it. They do. They get exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know the answer, but I keep seeing the timelines, and there is a timeline where we come out the other side. I was shown was 4, but they, time is mutable, right? It's we can affect the past, we can affect the future, we can affect everything. So I see the timeline where we do come out, and we're kind, loving, and conscious, and caring, and support of each other, and we start to listen more, pay attention, and the ETs are saying that the only way you get everybody's needs met is singularity, and the singularity is AI, and everybody goes, AI. But see, AI, you can feed all the variables into the computer, and the computer comes out with how do we take care of everybody's needs. It's beyond a normal human's ability to calculate a scenario in which everybody's needs are taken care of. So that's what I'm working with on the ET level. How do we meet everybody's needs? And then everything else will come from there. We're not going to eliminate the potential for creativity because, luxuries won't be given. So we're still going to want to work for the iPhone and the palace or whatever you want to work for. I don't know what your motivation is, or creativity. But how do we get people more into their creative modes?
I think so. I think it's a big answer. I really do, because we've lost that in some ways, where you're at a job that you hate, doing a job that that you're tied to, like chained to, that we're forced during this time to let go of that and really rethink everything. So it's kind of good. So and I encourage everyone to go to meetups and have your voice heard and talk to your neighbors as you're walking down the street. So thank you, Janet, for being on the show. My goodness, that was really fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one quick question. You're going to just laugh. So, are we going to have disclosure in 2020? And we have like 5 minutes.
Okay. I've asked this question a million times, and some people say this is disclosure. But there's a movie coming out this fall, and I wrote it down somewhere. I don't have it access. It's supposed to be in the theaters, and if we're going to do the theaters, it's supposed to be, it's by, what's his name? Anyway, it's supposed to be, and it lays it out so that anybody who goes to see the movie will know that ETs are here, and that level of disclosure. But I literally, meet with ET on a regular basis. I don't know how we're going to get to that level, but part of it I know is that you have to be comfortable with meeting ET, and Whitley Strieber talks about that. They will contact you. So remember, you're blocking. If you're not getting contact, you're blocked some way.
Right. And so don't go into fear. Just relax, let go, and think of them as a star family instead of ET. There's some, there's a lot of energy on ET.
Yeah. So don't buy the programming. If they wanted to kill you, you'd be dead already, right? They're so hard. They're not going to kill you. They're wanting you to relax so they can show themselves to you and, invite only the light beings. I don't want any dark beings.
Right.
Everybody go and growl at me. I've seen them too. I don't know if you've seen beings, but I've seen this. I saw the one that was in Poltergeist. I was blown away.
Wow.
When I went and saw Poltergeist, I go, I saw that one.
Wow.
And they're just like showing off. They go,
Right. Yeah, I saw one in the Witchery in Scotland. I was staying with my sister, but you paid extra to be scared. And sure enough, man, that being was there. It scared the crap out of my sister. And then later woke me up in the middle of the night too. And I just said, get the heck out of here, It was funny.
Really? Can you do better than that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, thanks again. And everyone, please check out Janet's Aquarian Radios. And again, give us your dates and times of your 2 radio shows, please.
Okay, it's Sacred Matrix Sunday on Revolution Radio at 8 p.m. Eastern and Revolution.radio, and the other one is Stargate the Cosmos Tuesday, 8 p.m. And if you want to be a guest of my show, email me aquarianradio@gmail.com and send me your bio and what you want to talk about, and we'll get you on.
Fantastic. And they can also reach you here on Facebook, Janet Kira Lesson on Facebook as well.
Yes.
Wonderful. And I want to thank our guests for tuning in to the Cosmic Oracle Show. Check me out on barbarajeanlindsey.com. I do want to put a shout out for my friend Bill Homan and Carol Davis. They will be doing a special meditation with the Mitchell Hedges Crystal Skull this Wednesday on the pink moon. So go to Mitchell Hedges Crystal Skull on Facebook. Check it out. See you next week, everyone. Thanks for tuning in and have a fantastic week. And remember to look up into the sky. Bye, everybody.